Ian Trottier, Discussions of Truth, and sitting here now with, introduce yourself here for listeners, please.
My name is Tim Foley. I'm the founder of Arizona Border Recon. We're a non-governmental organization that has been watching cartel movements and activity on the Arizona border for the past 12 years, going into our 13th year. And we're primarily comprised of former military and law enforcement. We've been watching. It's getting worse.
Tim, what got you involved in this citizen vigilante process of saying, hey, wait a second, my tax dollars are not representing me in this sense, and I've got to take matters in my own hands?
Well, what it was Obama. Back then, the government and the media were spouting two lies. The first one was, they're only coming and doing jobs Americans won't do. Well, I was in construction, building high-rises in Phoenix, making $85,000 a year. And I was running a 150-man crew to build these high-rises. 75% of my crew couldn't speak English, so I had to have an interpreter. Well, every Monday morning, I would have a safety meeting with my foremen, and I'd say, how many are you missing? How many are you? And I'm missing 2, I'm missing 3, I'm missing 2, and it's like, what happened? E-Verify caught them. So I'd have to call the hall, get more carpenters in to replace them. And then this continued every week. But it was a 3-week cycle, because 3 weeks later, the guys from 3 weeks prior who got caught were showing back up on the job when I called the hall to get them back more carpenters. And I said, well, what's happening? They're going, oh, well, we just took a couple weeks off, and then we went out and bought a new Social Security card, paid $100 to the union, and it's going to take them another 3 or so months before they catch us. And so I was under the impression, like most Americans, that E-Verify, once it found out you weren't legally allowed to work here, that they would deport you. But E-Verify, all it said was, oh, you can't work here, but it's all right if you hang out here. So this went on and on until 08 and the collapse. So I went from $85,000 a year to $12,000 a year overnight. I lost my house because the banks had created so many liar loans. And so I lost the house, I lost the Harleys, I had a Harley-Davidson shop, repair shop. I was doing quite well. And I was PO'd that not one banker went to jail. It was a $16.2 trillion fraud. And so I said, I'm done. Now I'm going to go see if the second lie is true. And that the media and the government was saying. And they go, don't worry, it's safe and secure. So I went down to look at the border. And I got there and I said, you're kidding me, right? Where we did have a fence south of where I lived was basically a 4-strand barbed wire fence.
2008?
Yeah. And then about 2000, I started making trips down, still trying to find work, to survive and keep going. And then I kept bouncing in and out on weekends, and after picking up odd jobs, I'll go down for a couple of days, 3-4 days. And then in 2010, I said, you know what? I either got to commit to being here 24/7 or just walk away. But what I had already seen in the first 2 years, between 2008 and 2010, I was going, it's phenomenal. So I decided to, whatever I had left, I sold. I reached the age where I could cash out my pensions early. So I cashed out 2 pensions. Then the government, being nice people they are, they took 25% of my pension because they took it early.
Bankers?
Just government.
Whatever. Yeah.
Government. It was like you're taxed putting it in and then tax taking it out and tax. So I sold everything and moved down there. And the first 2 months I was down there, I lived in my truck and go out in the daytime and GPS trails, and nighttime I'd go back to my truck and lock the doors and slept with an AR next to me and a pistol next to me and a shotgun next to me.
So you're a lone ranger at this time, Tim. You're telling me you're doing this by yourself because you're seeing the borders corrode before your eyes, and so you're taking matters into your own hands.
Yep. And then after about 2 months of living in the mountains, I heard through the grapevine that there was a house for rent in this little town right on the border. So I went over and talked to the people who were managing the town, and it was the only building. The town was basically a ghost town, and they said they would let me have that house for $100 a month.
Running water, electrical?
No, I had to redo all that. The only reason I took it was because it was the only place there that the roof didn't leak. So I worked on that. I lived there for 5 years, rebuilding it and everything, but I got evicted out of there because the cartel got a hold of the owners and said, you need them out, because we were stopping too much meth and cutting into their profits, and it was becoming a pain in the ass to me.
The owner was an American?
No, Mexican national, cattle rancher, and he bought the town just north of the border.
Bought the town?
Yeah. And, well, it's not much of a town. I mean, there's houses there, but they're all falling apart.
Gas station?
There's a gas station and a store and a post office, and that's it.
Remember the drug cartel bought this, or just a rancher?
No, a rancher, but, you know, when you're a Mexican national, you will listen to them, or else they'll thin out your family. So they forced me out. I was there for 5 years. And then I moved about 25 miles to the east and got together some money and bought 10 acres. So nobody could ever tell me to move again. But that town, there's probably 900 in a couple hundred square mile radius of that town. And there was a nice contingent of open border advocates in that town. They were hippies who moved in the 70s, and they built a commune out in the mountain, and then they found out that the land was so cheap, so they started buying up land in the town and started making a presence known. And then when I moved there, they freaked the frick out, and like, oh my God.
What's frick mean?
Well, I don't know if I can swear.
I don't know, can you?
Oh yeah, they freaked the fuck out that I moved in. I mean, oh my God, the fucking militias moved into town. One guy. But by that time I had already started Arizona border Recon, and I had, when I moved into there, probably had close to 300 volunteers. And so what we're doing on the border is playing 3 games all rolled into one. First game is hide and seek. You have to go out and find out where they're coming through and what they're bringing. So I'm a certified man tracker, and I've got 12 of my guys up to the level of certified man trackers. And
certified according to who? Who gives you that
one
certification?
Of the top
What does
10,
that mean?
You have to do X amount of hours at X amount of levels of tracking classes. So we're up to level 5, and so basically we have over, let's see, and it's a 1-week class, day and night. So you're looking at about 80 hours per class, times 5. We got 400 hours of just classes to bring up our skills in tracking, and also by just being there and going out all the time, you increase your skills. So the hide and seek is reading the story that's on the ground. what's coming through, how much, when. You have to be able to age tracks. You have to be able to tell, are they carrying heavy loads on their back? Are they moving?
Who's training you in this?
I would call him one of the top 10 trackers on the planet.
Who trained him?
His grandfather was a tracker back in Portugal, and his father was a tracker. And so he learned it from them, and he joined the Portuguese military at the age of 16 and went over into Angola when it was still a Portuguese colony, and taught the Angolans how to track. And then when he did, he came out and became a U.S. citizen, and he's been teaching tracking in the United States ever since to military and law enforcement. And he got wind of us and liked what we were doing, so he came down and started offering us classes. So, our tracking ability is probably better than over 50% of Border Patrols. And, what we have coming through our area is unlike Texas. Texas, they're just pouring across and walking up the Border Patrol. And they do that where we are, but further to the west. Where we are is nothing but mountains. And they go from 4,000 feet to 5,600 feet. And it's days upon days of mountains. And these people coming through are the ones who don't want to get caught. They're wearing full camouflage. They wear carpet shoes, which are anti-tracking shoes, camouflage backpacks, black water jugs so they don't reflect in the sun. So the people who don't want to get caught. That's why we go into that area, because that's where the good shit, according to us, is happening. That's the bad guys, it's the dope, it's the repeat deportees who have sexual crimes against them, who are gangbangers, you name it. All the bad comes right through our area. So what we do is, like I say, it's 3 games. First is hide and seek. So I go out with my dog, because my guys are volunteers. They come from all across
kind of dog?
The country. Pit bull. And great dog. He's been doing it with me for 9 years now. And he's well aware of what his job is. And, so when I go out there by myself, I love having the dog because he's always in front of me. And his hearing, his smell, and his sight is a lot better than mine. And when I'm tracking, I'm looking down 90% of the time, and I can glance up and look at his body language and what he's doing. And his tail does certain things for different what's in the vicinity. Like if there's a mountain lion or something, his tail will go straight up and it gets a knot in it.
It gets a knot in it?
Yeah, because when he was a puppy, his tail got closed in the door. So this thing, but that's the only time it shows up, is when there's imminent danger that he doesn't even want to be around. And then his tail will go straight up if he smells them. Because the dope mules and the bad guys coming through, most of them are doing meth so they can haul ass going through it. But when you're doing meth, you sweat and you stink. The sweat stinks. It is nasty. And so he can smell that, and I can know if they're, and depending on which way the wind's blowing, I know which way they're going. And when we go up to trails, if there's a split in the trail, my dog, he'll stop and turn around and look at me, and I can point of which way we're going to go, and then he turns and takes off at the split which way I pointed. So he's a very smart dog, and he taught all of it himself, but being out there with me. So the first game, the hide and seek, is seeing what's on the ground. And then there's low sign and high sign. Low sign is everything on the ground. High sign is broken branches.
And your dog has been trained to...
No, me.
Oh, I see, okay.
He's just my eyes and ears. Mm-hmm. But I'm looking for low sign and high sign. Because you'll see fabric caught up on a branch, just little fibers. And depending on what kind of fiber it is, you can tell if they're carrying a load. Because they use these brown or blue Mexican wool blankets for padding for their straps when they're carrying heavy loads. So if we see blue fibers stuck in the branches, we know they're carrying dope through. And so that's the first game, is that once I see the story on the ground, I'll put out cameras so that monitors that trail. And
Solar powered?
no, they're battery powered, but they'll last full charge. They'll last up to 2 months. And I go
You're
check.
documenting, charting where they're at.
What's that?
You're putting a chart down, location.
No, I pretty much I know 600 square miles of territory down there like the back of my hand. I've been there so long, so I know exactly where I put them now. It's just like, and I know where to go again. In the beginning, yeah, I used to GPS them, and then I still couldn't find them. But it takes years of practice. But and also it's tough with the camera because depending on what time of year it is, because the sun moves further north or further south, and so your cameras have to be pointing a certain way, or else the sun will reflect off of it and it can be seen and then grabbed. So there's a method to put cameras out. So anyway, I put the cameras out. The cameras, I'll look at them when I pull the cards off of them. I just go out, I pull the card, put a new card in it, and then I can go back to my place and then review all the footage. And so I look for time of day of the week, moon phase, temperatures. I look at everything to see if there's some type of algorithm on how often, when, what, who. Is it regular bad guys or is it dope bad guys? Who's coming down the trail? So once I put all that together, I send out an email to all my volunteers saying, I'm setting this up at this time. We're going to be out anywhere from 7 to 14 days. Who can make it? So out of all the volunteers, I'll get anywhere from 10 to 12 that'll show up on an op. And so what we do is we'll go out there, we set up a camp, and we set it up in a certain area that draws the attention of the scouts on the mountaintops. So they'll look at where
Purposely.
Yeah. So they look at that, and then they tell their guys.
Setting up a decoy, in other words?
Pretty much. So they'll tell their guys on the south side, don't use that area because they're sitting there. But then my guys were, like I said, former military and law enforcement. We throw packs on and we start going east and west, anywhere from 2 to 5 miles. And so they won't go here, and then they try to get out and around, and guess what? They run into us. So what we're trying to do is, they have a business. They're trying to get that product to market. They're dope. So I already know that it takes them 5 days to walk from the border to the outskirts of Tucson, because I've walked it, I've videotaped it, I got cameras set up in different parts of the trail, and seeing how long it takes them to get to point A to point B to point C to point D to point.
And they're taking water with them, the whole 5, or they have water stops?
Yes, they have open border advocates who are leaving water in certain areas all along the way. So I know it takes them 5 days. So what we try to do is block their entry to make them burn up their logistics. If we can make them sit back 3 days, they're never going to make it. So then they have to fall back, resupply, and then try again. And if they try to go for it, we have guys sitting high also. They'll call them out, and we can either try to intercept them, or we just, with sat phones, call Border Patrol, give them grid locations and what we got, and they'll head them off. So basically, what we end up turning into is a human fence. And we're mobile, so we can bounce back and forth, and eyes in the sky, basically, and it's worked quite well. I mean, nowadays with Biden in office and Border Patrol turning just into the green and white Uber, basically what we'll do is we'll sit back a quarter mile, sit high, watch them, wait for them to come in, then we drop down in front of them and chase them back into Mexico. And then they'll go and try to hit another spot. Yet I got guys there, we do the same thing. We keep pushing them and pushing them and pushing them and it's interesting.
What does a confrontation look like?
We've only had a couple, and the way we run things, because being former military law enforcement, I try to set up my operations as safe as possible. So basically, we will run them during certain moon phases so that we have ambient light, because night vision, which most of my guys have but not all can afford, so we have to run it when there's good ambient light where you can still see somewhat, and because no moon out there, you can't see in front of your face. And they don't even move in the no moon, because you'll break your leg, and they don't want to use flashlights. The only people that use flashlights out there is Border Patrol, and you can see those for miles. So we use the ambient light of, say, like half moon and right in there, but not too bright where you can be spotted. And one of the encounters we had, we were about 11:30 at night. We were moving to a new position. There was 4 of my guys. I wasn't with them on that. I was back at the base camp, because a lot of times I'll stay at the base camp because it's in the middle of our operation, and I know how to get to, if something happens, as fast as possible to that point, regardless of where it is. And I do all my fun shit when nobody's around. And this is their time. When they come in, they spend their time, their dime, to come out and help. So I give it to them. And so they were going down a trail, and they came up over this little rise. And there was one of the cartel scouts standing on the trail, but not paying attention. And he had a SKS strung over his back. And so my guys and that's the only time they're allowed to point a weapon, is if they can confirm that there is a weapon on the other person. And so they just raised their weapons and said,
Hands up.
Weapon down, hands up. And he turned around and looked and saw 4 guys pointing ARs at him and went, okie dokie. And so we called Border Patrol, and they come in and nab him, and they turn the SKS over to ATF, I think, and check it to see if it was stolen or part of Fast and Furious. But we've never. We're getting to the point now where it's getting close. I mean, we've had 2 firefights on the border in the past month. It's basically the same cartel. It's just 2 different factions of that same cartel fighting each other.
What cartel is that?
Sinaloa.
That's the
Chapos. El Chapo's cartel.
Is that the most powerful cartel in Mexico?
They used to be. They're not anymore.
The Zetas are more powerful now?
No, it would be the CJNG.
CJNG.
The Cartel Jalisco New Generation. They are the most well-armed, well-trained, These guys, they've shot 2 Mexican military helicopters out of the sky.
There's a lot of things that is happening.
And so what we got in our area right now is still the Sinaloa, half aligned with El Chapito, which is El Chapo's kid. The other half aligned with El Mayo, which is Chapo's lieutenant. And they're fighting for control of the whole cartel, but what they're fighting for is the routes to the lucrative drug trails where we're sitting.
They're running to Tucson.
Yep. And because the terrain we're in is so brutal, so hostile, and so inaccessible, that's what makes it so lucrative. Because Border Patrol is trying to stop a war that's going on 24/7 with the shift mentality. So, you come in, you got 8 hours on the ground, but it's taking you 2 hours to drive from Tucson to get to the border, then 2 hours to get back from the border. It leaves you 4 or 5 hours down on the ground. and you start trying to track somebody, you're only going to do about a mile and a half an hour. And if they already came in 3-4 hours ahead of you, they're already long gone. So Border Patrol right now, I mean, the guys that are on the ground down there, I give them credit for doing the best they can, but their hands are tied and they're being screwed because now with all the unaccompanied children just pouring through over to the west of us in the flatlands, that's Border Patrol's main objective. We got bodies. We have to go after the bodies. So all the agents in the area are now moving over that way to scoop up all these people just pouring through the holes in the fence. And that's what they're doing. Now they're pushing all the dope through where there is no Border Patrol. So we're being hammered. And it's like, what's today, Friday? Tomorrow I think they already started today. There's a caravan down in Tapachula, Mexico, down by the border. 95,000 plus started moving today for the border. The one behind that is 60,000 plus.
60?
Yeah. So we got 95,000 plus moving. Plus you've got 60,000 plus right behind them. And I had some 3% or
This
so.
is an invasion.
Oh yeah. Well, shit, we're already over just in unaccompanied children since the beginning of the year. We're over 250,000 just in kids. We're the end of August. We were at 1.8 million already from the beginning of the year. We're over 2 million and climbing daily. You know, everybody's focusing on Texas.
Yeah.
The Del Rio, you know, and they're going, oh my God. Well, in the first week of the fiscal year, October 1st to the 7th, Del Rio had 5,500 come through. Yuma, same time frame, 5,000. It's almost the exact same amount. But nobody's looking at Arizona. They're all looking at, oh my God. Don't worry about it.
Why?
I'm not too sure why.
Have anything to do with the audit going on in Arizona? Distraction? Keep as much attention away from Arizona?
I think everything that we've been seeing since the election is all part of the plan. The pandemic, you know, was to scare the shit out of people. Don't go vote by mail, you're going to die. So now we have mail-in election. So the election got stolen. So now we have this huge flood coming through. Basically, what they're trying to do is just collapse the country.
From within. Just drag it down culturally.
Right. Yep. Well,
You're bringing in the drugs, you're bringing in the criminals.
Pelosi, Feinstein, and the other witch of the West, we used to call her, Boxer, who's retired, they all got their start back in the 70s in the Vietnam protests. And they were all part of the Weather Underground, Saul Alinsky, and all that. These people have been at this for
Decades.
a long time, yeah. And now since they have this power, and I tell people, why do you think they're bringing in so many children? Well, look at the education system. They're trying to do the CRT, but the American parents aren't going for this. Well, now we got a whole fresh batch of clean minds that we can wash any which way we want. White man's bad. We're the racists. We're the, you know, and people, I've been called everything in the frickin' book. You know, but you look at my guys, half of them are Hispanic. I got an immigrant from Uruguay, you know, who came here and
It's fighting for you.
yeah,
For the country, America.
Yeah, he's got his citizenship, and this is his new country. And going, what the people I find that are most pissed off about what's happening is people who've done it legally. You know, they're going, wait a second, I waited 7, 10, 12, 15 years to go through all these hoops to become a citizen. Now you got millions coming through going, we want all the free shit. You know, look at the children, like I said, coming through up to this date so far, and it's probably more than that, but the last I looked, just what we shelled out for the kids that are coming through, $6 billion from January to October. $6 billion. Plus, I mean, I got so many numbers in my head of how much money is being spent and what the hell is going on. It's insane. You want to know? There's a website, and all you people go look at it. It's called illegaliencrimereport.com. North Carolina, for some unknown reason, is the illegal sexual predator capital of the United States. In July, they got 6 dozen. From July 1st to July 15th, they got 6 dozen illegal sexual predators were arrested. And they thought that was going to climb. The following month, they had 132 in August, the first 2 weeks, and they figured it was going to double by the end of the month. So it's just daily in North Carolina, these predators are in there. I mean, last week, you can go on their site, there was a guy who raped his own 12-year-old daughter. These are some sick people.
Well, that's amazing.
You know, because most people don't realize that consenting age in Mexico,
Also, the sex trafficking.
12.
Working on the document.
In some places, 11.
Trafficking in America, because a lot of people don't think trafficking
You know,
counts as
it's insane. And on top of the dope that's coming through, look, 2 years ago we were losing 44 people a day from overdoses. Now, with all the fentanyl coming through, we're at 95 people a day. We're over 90,000 people a year dying from overdoses. So what happened to the war on drugs?
Nancy Reagan?
And that thing's been going on since the 70s. But when the government puts that title, the war on, they put it on the war on drugs, all that means is there's no objective, there's no goal, there's no end. Let's just throw as much money and make our friends as rich as possible for as long as we can. And it worked with that. So then they came up with the war on terror. And we spent $6 trillion in 20 years to fight some bullshit war that we knew we were never going to win, because nobody's ever won in Afghanistan. Nobody. All the way back to Genghis Khan. Afghanistan's motto, where empires go to die. You know, and they know this. It was just to make their people rich. We got the border industrial complex. We got the military industrial complex. We got the prison industrial complex. This is all just a big freaking racket, and we're the ones footing the bill, paying it, and getting screwed. But regardless of how everything goes, I'll still be there. I'll still keep doing what we do. I told myself there's only 2 ways I would ever leave. One is if it was what I felt was secure, the border. 2 is if I die. And I think I'm going to be there a long motherfucking time. And I'm going to end up dying down there.
Tim, do you actively have these smugglers and cartels? Are they trying to take you out?
Yeah, I get about 4 threats a year. In the past year I've had.
But you're avoiding violence with them, it sounds like. You're just chasing them back into Mexico.
Yeah. No, it's going to come eventually. I mean, I get threats. In the past year I've had 2 encounters at my house with their affiliates. And, but I greet them at the door with a 12 gauge and a 40 cal and maybe an AR.
Understand how powerful these people are.
I'm not running. You know, that's their favorite tactic is just to intimidate. And they kind of realize who's going to run and who's not going to. And so we just monitor them, and we wait. We all wear body cameras to cover our ass just in case something happens. It's all on footage, you know, film. And, but I mean, I even talk to agents, and what people don't realize, this mess that we have right now is going to get tenfold worse, because next week in November, DHS is mandating the vaccine for Border Patrol. All the agents I talk to say they're going to walk.
How many have you talked to?
Dozens upon dozens. Most of them, their wives are in the healthcare industry. The ones I talked to, some of them said, my wife's already walked because she won't take the vaccine as a nurse. He says, I'm going to walk. This guy had 17 years in, 3 years shy of a beautiful government pension.
No.
But he says, not going to happen. I'm not doing it. They're all starting to say that. So DHS is headed up by Majorca. Majorca's a Cuban immigrant, but he's a Castro-Cuban. He's not an American-type Cuban who wants to move here to love his country. He's a Castro-Cuban, and he wants this to happen, just like Pelosi does, just like Sanders and all them lunatics. You know, if I ever met him, the only question I'd ask him is, what color is the moon on your planet? Because obviously we ain't looking at the same damn thing. You know, it's not the country I grew up in, but like I said, you know, somebody's got to do it. It's nice to see people are waking up. I just happened to.
Your team's growing. You got these guys leaving, walking away.
Yep, and you know, I got up to over 300 plus volunteers, and it was just getting way too big to manage. So last year I eliminated 265. Then went through the roster and looked at who, and because I keep track of how many times you come out, and what your capabilities are, what your background is, and everything. So I weeded them out, and now I'm down to about 7-8 dozen. But I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies. You know, so I got the best of the best. These are the guys I trust with my life, and it works very well now. Just
partnering with sheriffs.
Sheriffs don't really want to. Nobody wants to work with us because of the way the media's portrayed us. You know.
And how have they portrayed you?
Well, vigilante, militia, right wing, racist. Nazis.
Are you a militia? It doesn't sound like it.
No, we're not a militia.
Even if it were, that's a constitutional right, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but I mean, you can go to our website, and even on the front page it says we're not a militia, and it even says we don't intend to overthrow the government. But what we are is a non-governmental organization. You know, we don't have a rank structure like militias do. My title out there is Field Operations Director. The only one with a rank is my dog, and that's because it sounds cool with his name. His name is Rocco.
Captain?
Rocco, so we call him Sergeant Rocco. You know, he's got the 3 bars of a sergeant. He's got the chevrons, and you know, he's got his vest, and but you know, he's the only one with the rank. My other guys are called team leads or team members. You know, so we're not a militia, and I get flack for that all the time. Well, you're of the age and you're a militia. No, I'm a militia. No, if I want to be a militia, I'll call myself a militia. I'm not a militia. You know, because we vet anybody who wants to come out with us. You have to do a job application, basically. Then we'll review the job application, see what your qualifications are, if you have any military background, law enforcement background? Do you speak any extra languages? And if they're okay with that, one of my team leads will call you and ask you, what do you think we do? And listen to what they say versus what we actually do. And then if they're okay with them still, then they make them do a background check, which covers 50 state criminals, 50 state sexual predator, and government watch list. If they pass that and they want to keep on, then they have to notarize our rules of engagement and our standard operating procedures, because by notarizing them, they're good in the court of law. And our rules of engagement and our standard operating procedures is basically, you will do it exactly the way we tell you and the way we do it. You do anything stupid, we'll be the first ones to hogtie your ass and turn you over. Because that way, only one goes down, not the whole ship. And I've had attempts at trying to bring down the whole ship. I've been infiltrated by the FBI, and we knew.
Really?
Oh yeah, they keep tabs on us. I've had colonoscopies by every frickin' alphabet out there.
And it's coming close to Christmas time. Warriors for Rangers has
watched, listened to, but they reach out to me also. Hey, we hear this about what's happening there. What do you got? And I will give them information, because if we were doing anything wrong, there's no way in hell they would have allowed us to keep walking around for 12 years. Even though you got media out there saying, oh my God, they're kidnapping women and raping them in the mountains. It's like, come on. I said, my mom didn't raise me that way. I said, I'm a protector of women. And, they're stealing the dope to fund their operation. It's like, no, I'm pretty much going broke doing this. People go, well, he's doing it for the fame and the fortune. It's like, I really don't give a shit about fame, and I ain't making a fortune, and I'm just doing what
needs to be done.
Needs to be done and should be done. The only difference is, it's great people are waking up now, but I was just a guy who woke up a lot earlier and got off the damn couch. And that's what people need to do, is get off the damn couch. These rallies and these conferences, they're great. And when I get up to speak, I still have to speak yet. And I tell people, this motivation right now, fucking awesome. This drive you have, this, great. But when you get home, 3 days later, you better keep that motivation, or else you're going to sit on the couch. Once you start sitting on the couch, the hardest thing to do, you can ask anybody who goes to the gym all the time, hardest thing to do when you go to the gym is getting back up off the couch if you took a break from it. You can't stop. You have to keep driving. You have to keep moving.
Just continue to keep moving and moving and growing. So share this, you guys.
The Arizona Border Recon,
share it.
I got my hands full there. But I've started another organization because some of my guys have come to me and said, thank you, you saved my life by being able to do this. It's given these combat veterans a purpose again. It's something they do. It's something they enjoy. They're trained for. Not a lot of people can do this. We have a saying, in the military and down on the border. Embrace the suck. And it all sucks down on the border. Everything out there wants to hurt you, from the temperatures to the terrain, the plants, the insects, the reptiles, the animals, everything. But you have to have that mindset where, fuck it, this is what needs to be done. We're out there from 0 degrees to 120. Pouring rain, snow, dust storms, it don't matter. We love doing it, and it needs to be done. So by those guys telling me that I saved their lives, I go, well, if we can save a few, why can't we save more? So I started a veterans nonprofit organization, and we bought 10 acres of land, and we're developing it to be able to bring veterans and get them out of the city and out into the country where they can look at the Milky Way without sirens and
But it's about like
all that
raising people
organized
up.
chaos of a city. They could see the Milky Way. They could
I've
watch
spoken at a lot of
the
stuff,
monsoons and the
I told
electrical
Ray, I wanna
storms.
speak
They
at
could
Dow- I'm
look
not
at
San
the
Antonio, but I wanna
sunsets,
speak
which
at Dallas.
Arizona has. I've been around the
So
world.
he had Mary come on.
The
It's
most
awesome.
incredible sunsets anywhere I've ever been.
I'll grab.
And
Yeah,
it's,
okay.
it's
Love you too.
Love
so
you.
we're going to try to help more.
We'll be praying for you.
You know, and so people are like, well, you know, I got a job, so I can't really protest or anything. I got a job, and I started another one.
This other side.
So I wish I had 2 or 3 of me, but I don't.
Yeah, I know. This is
You know,
the
but
last
the
one
old
we're
saying
doing.
is, my mom used to say is,
I'm gonna have you
God
come
only gives you as
over
much as you can handle.
Closer to the,
You know? So
to the
I guess I can handle it. I'll figure out how. But I just keep plugging along.
signature, the dashboard,
Tim,
podcast,
as we wind down here,
report only.
is there anyone else in the country that's doing what you're doing?
So,
No. No, not for the duration. You get people that come out and want to do it, and then because when people go to the border, they're thinking that these people are going to walk up to them and go, hey, okay, here you caught us, okay, oh God. No, they're not trying to get caught.
really, I can tell you
So
that.
basically, it's
I just,
basically sit,
okay.
sit, watch. But you have to know the terrain and the area, whereas these guys come in and they're like, oh no, where do we go? And they give up and go away. You know, the first guys I started with, they lasted 6 months and went away, and I said, oh well, now I got the whole house to myself and I'll keep going.
So, we're going to
So
talk
I'm
about...
still going.
Yeah, because I live...
My truck that I started with has 410,000 miles on it, and it's a 2-wheel drive. I beat the shit out of that truck.
You never had an oil change, huh?
No, I just use the right oil.
Dallas too. I used to live in Texas. So,
I've blown through trannies.
It's a secret, isn't it? A fresh one.
What I do is Lucas oil treatment.
so firefighters.
I mean,
So
shit, you can run that thing dry. If you got Lucas in there, it'll keep going for another couple hundred miles. Oh yeah, I've ripped the oil pans off. I've ripped trannies out because it's all 4-wheel drive territory. I finally just got a 4-wheel drive somebody donated to me, but going through that thing right now. People give you shit when they don't want it. Dude, I'm gonna donate this to you. It's like, well, that's because your wife probably told you to get rid of that piece of shit in your front yard. You know, it's amazing. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna make a donation. It's like, so I've already replaced the 4-wheel drive on the front end, all the tires, the rims going through. Doors didn't open, windows busted. It's like, gee, thanks, nice donation. Now I gotta only spend a couple thousand more to get it up and running. Donate a one that they don't have to do shit to. But you know, I take it. It gives me something else to do.
Final thoughts for some final words for listeners. Tim, what do you want listeners to walk away with? And you can encompass the state of the union, the state of your country. You're doing this for your own security, but you're doing this for the greater good of
I'm not doing this for me. Because if I was doing this for me, I'd be up in Idaho, sitting on a piece of dirt and go hunting. I'm doing this for everybody else. Because what gets by me gets to everywhere else in the country. And what's happening across this country is, this is not the place I grew up in. See, I don't need to be doing this. I'm 62 years old. I could be collecting Social Security right now, like I said, sitting in Idaho, doing nothing. But I'd be up there going, wonder what came through today. What did I miss? But if people want to see what we see, we put up some of our stuff, but we don't put up all of it because the guys in the South are watching everything we do. So they can go to our YouTube channel, Arizona Border Recon. They see some of the shit we put up there. But do something. Regardless of what it is you do, not everybody can do what I do. Not everybody can do what my guys do. And I don't expect everybody to do what we do. It's only made for a few certain type of individuals. But there's something you can do. Start at the bottom That's where the corruption starts. Like hear people going to the school board meetings, go to the city council meetings. Get them clowns out of there. Let's start over. Don't obey, don't comply. I walked through Salt Lake City Airport and Phoenix Airport when I came up here. I was the only person in the whole damn airport not wearing a mask. Only time I put the mask on was when I had to go like this to put my arms up through TSA and then sit on the plane. I did it to walk to my seat and sat down and took it off, and I picked the window seat so I can look out the window. So that way I put the mask on.
Wow, that's amazing.
Fuck off.
And how long of a time?
It's... I have an immune system. Everybody has an immune system. We have to start standing up, regardless of how you do it.
And then we also started fundraising in addition to that.
And I have a bumper sticker I just put on my truck. When people are sitting around, I hope is not a good plan. And the other one I just put on my truck, no one's coming to help. It's up to us. So you better get your ass off the couch, do something, do anything, even if you're standing on a damn street corner with a sign that says, I will not obey, I will not comply. Do something. That's part of the reason we're in this mess. People became too fat and happy with that moniker, the silent majority. Well, guess what? Silence is consent. Silence is death. So we're allowing this to happen by, I'm sick and tired of hearing people on the right, I got a job and everything. Well, yeah, but you sat there on Sunday watching football or baseball. The fuck off the couch and get the fuck out there in the street. And there was a movie in the 80s called Network. I don't know if you ever seen it. You're probably too young.
Sounds familiar.
But there's a news anchor on there. And he has this breakdown on air. And he just starts screaming, I want you to go to your windows and open up your windows and scream as loud as you can. I'm as mad as hell and I won't take it anymore.
It's a great quote. Yeah, that's, you know who that is? I know you're talking about.
Yeah.
This is,
he's a famous actor.
Yeah.
But that's what people need to do. The left went out there and started screaming, and so now look we ain't got no history. The statues are gone. But down here in this freaking place, one of the pictures that made my day was taking a picture next to the unisex bathroom. What the fuck is going on?
Oh, there's a unisex bathroom here, huh?
Yeah, right down there next to the men's bathroom downstairs.
Didn't know that.
If I had a kid and
Peter Finch.
Yep.
Howard Beale. Anchorman Howard Beale. That's the character.
Great show. Great.
Kind of like a Walter Cronkite.
This was back in the 80s, 1984. Boy, where did that come into? But, it's... What I see in society is people now have this mentality of...
But the unisex bathroom just had one toilet in it. You're not talking about... Yeah.
But they had two figures on there. I don't know what the figures were, but it was unisex. And I had to take a picture of that. But what I see with society is now it's not... It's mostly what's in it for me? What do I get out of it? What the fuck do I get out of being on the border? Blowing through 2 pensions. Putting my ass on the line. Putting my guy's ass on the line. Trying to build another veterans organization. I get nothing out of this. The only thing I get out of this is
That was a press release.
when I'm laying on my deathbed, what do I want to look back on? Did I busted my balls from 9 to 5 days a week? And if I was lucky, I could take 2 weeks off and go to some fucking beach somewhere and take a picture? Pay my taxes and be a good little surf? Or do I want to lay on that bed and go, you know what? I tried. I tried to make a difference. I tried to help. I tried to do something for everyone. What's more important? Money ain't shit. Money ain't worth it. It's not all about money.
$30 trillion federal debt. The U.S. dollar's not worth much anyway.
No.
We've got some beautiful ladies here that are listening, and they enjoy your charisma, I believe. Ladies, do you have a question for Tim? Not to
You
put
got
you on the
everything
spot.
but me, and my time's
How
almost.
do we replicate him and make him contagious?
How do we replicate you, Tim? Making sounds like you got to go on the stage.
Well, see, yeah, I got to get up there in a minute. What people don't understand is the vast majority of people are looking for leaders. They're looking for that first person to get off the couch and go, follow me. I did that. Have I fallen down? Yeah. But I get back up. And I stand, I go, hey. And if it's not for you, even though you did say follow me, say, look, how about you take the charge? Like I got it to this point, I can't go any farther. Somebody else take it from here. But you got to get people motivated and activated, and and I was just, people go, they have that mentality. Well, I'm one person. What can I do? Well, I was one person.
Living in your car.
One turns into two, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to
300.
16 to, yeah. And then I had to downsize it so that we became actually more effective. So, I mean, everybody has an excuse. Just like everybody has an asshole. And they all stink. So quit making excuses. Get your asshole up off the couch and do something. Anything.
Well said. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Foley. Tim, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Anytime. I give you one of my cards.